I'm so excited having to talk about this today because I see a whole lot of companies that get it right. In fact, can you get the right CEO and you don't get the right culture? Can you get the right CEO and you don't get the right strategy? Does a CEO come with a culture? What happens when the CEO comes with a culture that undermines the company culture? Or if the CEO comes with certain strategic frameworks that may necessarily not be applicable in an industry that he's finding himself in within the present organization? And how does that affect the general outlook of a company? A lot of things can actually go wrong when a chief executive officer doesn't understand the role that he needs to play in shaping the culture of the company aright. Because when you have the culture right, especially when you get a new CEO on board, when you have the culture right, one of the things that you are sure of that you can actually not go wrong on is the fact that you would have your output right, you would have your results right, you have a lot of things right at the end of the day. So to talk about a company culture that is foisted by or that is driven by the chief executive officer is no small discussion at all, because every CEO is coming from a place. When they come into an organization that already has an established way of doing things and they feel that they can actually change that, they can put things in place to ensure that, okay, certain things begin to go properly, things begin to go appropriately and all of that. But one major thing that you have to bear in mind is that the chief executive officer must be in charge of staying the course. It's his job to put everyone aright. It's his job to create a new system, especially when maybe the system in the present company may not really be able to deliver that company's, may not be able to take that company where the company intends to go to. So much of that responsibility is on the CEO. So he must stay the course. He must chart the course. He must, in fact, it is his job to act as a compass to where the company is actually headed. That's very, very key. Another thing also that I feel every CEO must also do is that they must create the mindset of, or they must deploy the mindset, because to create a mindset that is not deployed, there are two different things: to create a mindset and to deploy that mindset. So let's say that the CEO must create the mindset and he must also deploy that mindset in the culture of the particular company that he has found himself in, to the point of ensuring that he pushes the boundaries to get ahead of the competition. That's another role that the CEO must actually fit into. You must, when people say, okay, don't focus on the competition, just do what you need to do and all that. I can agree to some extent, but it's not totally true. Sometimes you need to find out what are your competitors actually doing and what are they not doing right. There are two things. It's not just, okay, what are my competitors doing? If you have that information, the next thing that you must think about also is, what are they not doing right? It's from a place of what they are doing and the things that they are not doing right that you can begin to create other plans that your present company can begin to at least see a different future than the experience that your competitors are having. That's where you now begin to talk about your competitive advantage, your strategic edge. Those are the things that come about when you engage the thinking process of what your competitors are doing and what they are not doing right. So when you have that figured out, it gives you an edge within the marketplace and you're able to do things exceptionally well and beyond what other individuals are doing. And also don't forget, the same way you are thinking of what your competitors are doing, your competitors too are also looking at you and they're asking themselves the question, what are you now doing? That's your competitors now. They're also asking, what are you doing and what are you not doing right? So at the end of the day, everybody gets to that point where they are disrupting each other. And that is healthy for business. It's healthy for business. We used to have, let me use an example of Dangote Cement, for example. There was this about 10 years ago, or maybe 12 years ago, thereabout, let's even say 5 years ago. You may not have had the 3X cement, but we have one particular product. Boa has its own product. When you are using Boa, some say the cement solidifies quickly. Another one requires more water. You know, there are different views around, you know, within the construction space, why certain companies would prefer a certain brand of cement to another brand of cement. So these options, these new options, the new introductions of the 3X product by Dangote in the market, I'm extremely sure is as a result of asking those strategic questions. What's the competition doing? And what is the competition not doing correctly, so that improvements can always come about. Also, Boa will look at Dangote and ask themselves, what is Dangote doing and what is Dangote not doing well? You understand? So elephants too will come into the entire picture. What is Boa and Dangote doing well and what are they not doing well? So at the end of the day, within a couple of years, you begin to find out that we are having differentiation in different products. And also, this affects the customer at the end of the day. Customers are now getting more value as time goes on. So to keep up this conversation on the CEO roles in culture and strategy, you know, you also have to think of, what does a CEO need to instill culture appropriately within that particular organization? But before I delve into that, I also want to state that it's also a CEO's responsibility to energize his team. If you find a team that lacks energy, I'm sure the CEO lacks energy. Or better yet, the CEO is not bringing the full weight of his energized self to the particular team. When you find people in an organization, everybody is laissez-faire, people are not doing certain things right. You know, this thing that has to do with modeling, people want to flow to a certain degree from the flow that they can observe from the top. People want to flow to a certain degree from the flow that they can observe, the flow that they see being modeled. So when you are talking about energy, it's important. Even if you are a CEO and maybe you are a core introvert, like you don't even like people, but you know how to get things done, you need to create that make-believe view or perception about yourself that you are bringing energy to the table. Because people want to see the energy. They want to know, okay, is the CEO giving his all? It's not enough to ask people that, okay, you set targets for every other person, but nobody is setting a target for you, except you're in an organization that has maybe a board structure or an advisory board structure that looks at the activities of the chief executive, for example, or the MD, as the case may be. So that's also very important. It's also very important where for energy has to be infused into the entire workforce. When you go to certain banks, for example, I'm not going to mention names. I walked into a bank some months ago. Immediately I stepped into that bank. In fact, the ambience was zero ambience. It almost looked like a marketplace, like when you go into a traditional market where you see there's one kiosk somewhere, somebody has to cut through another footpath to get to another place. The place was so disorganized, and so is their brand. But you walk into another bank, for example, and from the security man who is greeting you, the smile on his face, the neatness of the dress or the uniform that he's wearing, you know, you step into the whole place, the whole eruption of AC, you know, it blows into your face. Then you walk further, you see ladies and guys well dressed, creeps, smiling, looking good. You talk to the customer service, you are respected. Your problem is solved. But that doesn't happen everywhere. So the point I'm making is that when you infuse that energy into your team, one thing that can happen is that people begin to take pride in the job that they do and in the results that they deliver. What's a company for at the end of the day? It's about the job that people do and the results that people deliver. It's very key as a chief executive officer that you must infuse energy into your team. When that happens, everyone begins to take pride in their job, they take pride in their work, and they deliver value to the team. So, to do this, what must a CEO do? What must a CEO do? I'm asking you. I was thinking I'll get a response, but let me just continue. And if you want to respond to some of the things you think a CEO must do, please kindly put that in the comment section. I would like to know what you think. But one of the things that comes to mind first is when you enter into certain companies, for example, you see the walls. The walls are coated, painted gold with the company values, the mission statement, the purpose of the company, all these beautiful statements. One of them comes to mind, which I crafted myself. A vision statement. I'm going to read from the vision statement here. Please don't mind me. To deliver value by creating platforms that drive great products and services through innovation, technology, and people. That's the vision statement for Cashmore, for example, a company that I provide some form of support to. Beautiful, written on the wall, like exciting comments. When somebody comes in and they read that, like, emotionally they can taste what that company is about. But beyond that beautiful statement on the wall, beyond the beautiful statement on the wall, what must a CEO do? It's a CEO's job to bring that beautiful statement from the wall and to make it flesh, to make it something that the gate man can feel, the cleaner can feel it, the security man can feel it, or everybody that works within that company, from staff 1 to staff 100, from top to bottom, from bottom to top, everybody can almost touch the vision statement. It's your job to bring that statement into life. It's not enough to just have statements all around. In fact, if you go online, you are researching maybe top 100 companies in the US, for example, and you see a lot of value statements, beautiful, 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 awesome things going all around. But how awesome is the translation of some of those values into the culture? Can you sense or can you feel the culture of a company by looking at their values? Can you feel it? Can you feel the culture? If you can't feel the culture, trust me, one thing I'm very sure of, 100%, in fact, 101% is that the value has remained on the wall. It's not in the hearts of the employees. It's not in the heart of the organization. The value has remained on the wall. And surprisingly, for a lot of companies, the value remains on the wall. So as a CEO, it's your job. When you say things like to deliver value by creating platforms that drive products and service through innovation, technology, and people, what have you done to bring that into life? What have you done to bring that into life? Can people take pride when they look at the job or the work that they deliver or the results that they deliver? Can they relate the vision of the company to the results that they are delivering? Can they relate it? It's your job, as in fact, when people talk of CEO, it's a lot of work to be a chief executive. So much rests on you, so much relies on you, especially as it has to do with creating the right culture for an organization. So it's very key. Values, mission, purpose, all of those things. I don't want to start explaining what do they mean, what don't they mean, and all that. I believe that we all understand, at least to a certain extent, what values are, what the mission is, what the purpose is. When you can create that sync, people can easily touch their values. They can touch it, they can feel it. The value statement is almost like an anthem that resounds in the minds of people who work within that company, just like a national anthem, for example. Something that once they tap you, it flows naturally out of you. You can easily say, this is what this company stands for in terms of results, in terms of activities, in terms of strategy, in terms of stakeholder engagement, in terms of all of those factors through which a CEO can be assessed. So it's a CEO's job. He must take the value statement away, the vision statement away from the wall, and implant it in the hearts of the people. It's his job. How he does that, how well he does that, definitely depends on a lot of factors. So, lastly, company culture. Company culture is very key. Companies with a wrong culture, the customers will definitely feel. In fact, customers will always feel the impact of a company with a wrong culture. Let's even look at something as simple as customer service, for example. There are some companies that believe never drop a call. Never drop a call. No matter what you think that customer wants to, the feedback the customer is bringing to you, never drop a call. In fact, there are some customer service organizations for certain top companies that I've actually engaged with through the phone. You are talking to them, trying to explain your problem. The next thing, the person cuts the phone on you. Having waited for almost 15 minutes to get to talk to somebody. They slam the call on you, not once, not twice, not 3 times. It's almost like it's a culture in that call center platform. Maybe they're like, if they cannot solve a problem, the next thing, they cut the call. Even when they tell you that this call is being recorded for quality assurance purposes and all that, that's just a whole lot of bulwark kind of comments. So the point I'm just trying to make basically is that culture has to be driven, culture has to be monitored, culture has to be assessed. Any culture that you don't give these 3 parameters to, and it's not enough to have a whole lot of culture. You know, some people might say, okay, there are 7 things that represent the culture of this company. There are 15 things that represent the culture. No, you are wasting time. Human beings don't respond to things like that. Create a very concentrated, in fact, just look for 3 simple things that you can measure in your organization in terms of culture and let people flow by it. Once you actually have that, once you have that kind of a system where you can easily tell if people are defaulting or the culture, or if people are not defaulting, if you have that kind of a system, trust me, you've done well for yourself. The only other thing you need to do is continue to energize your staff, continue to influence them, continue to motivate them, and continue to compliment them. Better yet, compensate them. It's very important. For companies to grow in culture, the CEO has to be growing.